Yes, sir. Okay. Please carry on with the presentation.
Sure, so thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I was listening very carefully to Sanchari's work, and I have conducted somewhat similar kind of work. I have worked on the tetrapod diversity of Central University, but for this international conference, I have restricted my presentation to the mammalian diversity in and around the semi-forested ecosystem of the Central University of Jammu. So I think I am very much clearly audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, sir. So the objectives, firstly, to assess the mammalian diversity in and around the Central University, and second was the threat assessment with special reference to the mammalian species. So as we know that the population is increasing, we are clearing our forest for various purposes like agriculture practices and expanding our rural settlements. So Central University of Jammu campus was given under the Central Universities Act of 2011, and from then onwards, it was allotted a land of about 600 acres. Here in the study area, you can see that the allotted land inside the yellow boundary, it is mostly forested area. In the left half of the image, that is the A section, you can see that there are some road networks which were uh, being started in the 2016 year, I think. And this area was earlier a part of a wildlife sanctuary known as the Surinsar Wildlife Sanctuary in Samba district of Jammu and Kashmir. So, coming back to the introductory slides, mammals are one of the more major components in an ecosystem, and their abundance essentially mark the presence or absence of the stability in an ecosystem. The figures at the right hand side gives you a glimpse about the study area, and similar photographs I have put ahead also. So here you can see the mountains. Basically, these are the outer hill regions. So they were cleared, and roads were made, tunnels were made, somewhere dams were made. So the university is still in developing stage. So it was, the need of the art to study the various diversities while there was still time. So, for studying the mammalian diversity, we used the line transect and roadside survey methods. Direct and indirect sightings were done, and we did the field visits in various seasons in the morning and evening times, in various precipitation days also. And for confirming the species, we used field guides developed by Prater and V. Menon for the mammals. So the results were a total of 24 species of mammals were identified, in which 13 were wild and 11 were domestic across the 7 orders and 15 families. 5 of the wild species, I have put some photographs on the right hand side of the slide from A to E. So the scientific name have been mentioned. Suscrofa is for wild pig, Macaca mulatta is for rhesus macaque, Canis oriens is for the golden jackal, Anambunus pinnati, you must have seen this squirrel hiding here and there in the trees, and the photograph E. Montiacus montajac, it is the barking deer. So in the 13 wild species, here I have just put a table. We found that the wild species belong to 6 orders, and these were sorry, 8 9 12, yes, 12 families. So most of the species are already under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and they are under Schedule 1 and 2. Prominent Schedule 1 species here is the 8th serial number Panthera pardus fusca, also known as the Indian leopard. So, so coming on to the domestic species, so these 11 were the domestic species from the various four orders and five families, and six of these have been photographed and put it here on the slide. So this bar diagram represent the various orders. The blue bars uh, numbering the domestic species, and the orange bars with the wild species. So here you can see Perissodactyla. We are only having the domestic species. Artiodactyla 4 and 3, domestic and wild respectively. Similarly, Carnivora 2 species domestic, 4 wild. Primates 1 wild species. Lagomorpha 1 wild species. Rodentia 2 wild and 2 domestic. And Chiroptera, that is the bat order, we were having 2 species of bats. So this is a video. I'll just start the video and to give you a glimpse about what is the actual scenario in the field. This is of sambar deer, that is a Schedule 1 species, and under the IUCN threatened category, it is been categorized as the vulnerable species. So the location of the video is Central University of Jammu. It was shot within the car, and before playing the video you can see that it is inside, the deer is inside the boundary. You can see at the right side that the fences with barbed wires are present. So I'm gonna play. I hope all of you will be able to see this video. So I just hit it. So this is sambar deer. Maybe many of you have visited some zoos and saw this deer, but here in our university we can see such species just a handful of distance away. So this was a very short clip I included. So now I would like to talk about the threats to these mammals in the study area. So the very first threat is the scarcity of water resources in the campus area. So as the campus area, is of the wildlife part, wildlife sanctuary part, uh, it is having a proper boundary, and the water sources inside the campus is just some small ponds and seasonal cuds. Cuds are those uh, those water channels which will be filled during the rainy season only, and in the past few years the rains have drastically decreased in the area. So from figure A to D, sorry I couldn't hide. Yeah, from figure A to D, you can see that in A figure the dam area is clearly without any proper water, but the same dam during the rainy season gets some amount of water. Then some little ponds can be seen in figure C and D, where we witness some of the domestic as well as wild mammals. So this was the first threat identified in the campus. Second is the accidental electrocution. The figure here is of Indian palm civet. So it was very much likely electrocuted, and it was found near an electricity pole with no other injuries on the body. It must have encountered some live wire because the campus was under development, and you can see that this photo is from 2021. Uh, uh, these civets were also seen in sometimes roadkill accidents. So accidental electrocution is one of the threats identified by us here. Next is competition for food. When the university area was under the wildlife sanctuary, many of the herders and bakkarwals used to take their livestock and come here. Also, in the wintering season, Gujar and Bakkarwal tribes migrate from upper hill regions to the lower outer hill regions, of which our campus is also a part. So, the regulation of these Gujar and Bakkarwals inside the campus is of utmost importance. Why? Because uh, as this area is already isolated from the rest of the wildlife sanctuary, this area is already under stress from the anthropogenic factors. So, increasing the number of animals here will definitely have some effect on the wild animals. And it was observed that whenever Bakarwal and Gujar tribes were found grazing in or near the campus, the wild animals were going away from the campus and into the deeper zones of the wildlife sanctuary. Another threat which was identified around the study area was the illegal hunting. So, here in figure 9, the upper image, you can see a number of porcupine spines which were found, in a collective fashion. Like we didn't find one or two spines, it was found in some groups, like 15-20 spines at one spot, and uh, others also we find somewhere. So the thing to note here is we never found any carcass, because maybe some wild animal also feed on the porcupine, but we didn't found much of any carcass. So it was a practice of locals here to uh, illegally hunt and eat this animal for its meat. So this was a threat. And next, I think this image, the golden jackal, we found this jackal unconscious with the gunshot wound, and we informed the local authorities, but this jackal wasn't saved because maybe it had lost a lot of blood from the lower extremities of its body. So illegal hunting is also a very prominent threat around the campus area here, as this campus is located 25 kilometers away from the main city of Jammu. So these were some of the mitigation measures which I think we must adopt, and I have already told the relevant authorities about the same. That focused education and awareness campaigns should be the first and foremost practice, as we can't just you know save the local diversity of the space of any area without the local people involved in there. So these awareness campaigns in the nearby villages and school are of utmost importance. Nextly, friendly engineering technique should be implied wherever necessary. Like while building the roads, we can leave some natural corridors for the wild animals to pass from underneath, especially where there are small, you know, space between two hills, and we just try to block it by putting some kind of barrier there for our convenience. Like we make a bridge, we put some pillars down, and then we join the pillars so that it becomes more stable. Maybe the joining can have some part left between them, something like that. So next measure can be taken, like the strict and time bound action in form of legal measures, so that maybe due to some hold of legislation and rules, the people may not, divulge into unfair practices like hunting in the in or around the study area, and limiting the mass movements of Gujar and Bakkalwals, especially inside the university campus during the winter seasons, is another mitigation measure to look upon. And a local animal response unit, as this campus is already 25 kilometers away from the main city, and this campus is also having 14 different species of snakes, out of which 4 of the most venomous snakes of India are present here in the campus. And yesterday we rescued an Indian cobra from the canteen area. So a local animal response unit with, essential equipments and safety nets or safety measures should be developed around the study area to minimize the damage in human wildlife encounter. And these were the references which was used during the studies. Thank you. That's all from my side. I hope I didn't pour much and uh, conveyed my results and message effectively.
Thank you, Ashutosh. This is the time for questions. Okay. If there is
Okay,
no
thank you.
question for Ashutosh, then thank you for
Thank you.